Now, I don't know which one is worse or more embarrassing for Meghan Markle, the fact that we have a lot of critics that once actually defended her, that once actually supported her through and through, are now beginning to turn against her, or the fact that Season 2 is going to be a bigger ratings disaster than Season 1 back in March. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle right now is that we do know that Meghan Markle is in damage control mode. She is really trying to prop up this show. She's really trying to actually go against the critics now, go against, of course, those critics that once supported her all the way with Season 1 and all of her other Netflix projects. And, of course, what looms in the future, we know that Meghan Markle is indeed getting a couple of one-off projects here and there, all thanks to Ted Sarandos. I mean, you can blame this guy for being responsible for that. However, we know one thing about this, is that Season 2, the fact that it will debut tomorrow, alright, just be aware about that. It's going to be very interesting to see the trends when it comes to the critics, when it comes, of course, to those critics that once supported her, and what the ratio is going to look like. However, interestingly enough, we know that Meghan Markle is doubling down on her overall agenda by going against the public. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the Meghan Markle situation, we know that this is actually creating a lot of, issues going on with the producers, the executives, Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos. Netflix right now, it's very ugly. Let's be very real with you guys. I mean, it's a very ugly situation. It's heavily divided when it comes to the corporate ladder right now, when it comes to all the executives, the board of directors. I mean, it's just a mess. But what's interesting here is that with the second season of Meghan Markle's Netflix show already getting destroyed by critics behind the scenes, one significant development going on now involves more to do with Meghan Markle's behavior and response to the ratings disaster that is this show, and how she is actually coping with the fact that even critics that once shilled for her for the first season are abandoning ship. Now, Meghan delivered the following. The problem that I think that we have with critics today, in today's age, especially in 2025, is that they are all very politically motivated when it comes to their questions, whether it's in regards to a film, or even in my case for a series. Sometimes you have to deal with really frustrating questions that have nothing to do with the character that you are building, or how talented you are as an actress. And when your talent gets ignored, I think that's when critics cross the line to just being your everyday critic on social media. Look, I'm proud of Season 2. I think everyone should really at least try to enjoy it, because there is a lot of negativity out there surrounding what I do, not just as a woman, but as an actress, and I will never understand it all. I don't mean to get political, but I think it's coming from a toxic, politically motivated place when critics and those on social media try to put you down for the wrong reasons. There is nothing inauthentic about my personality, about my life, and about my values. What you see is what you get in this series, and I don't care what anyone else says. If you claim I have this inauthenticity in my life, then I don't want your business to begin with. I just don't, because it's a waste of my energy and my time to invest in supporters like that who don't value my creative work that I put into these projects. Both critics and those that may not like what I do are very unfair and biased individuals. I think it's become quite obvious that this has something to do with politics. This all has something to do with this current administration that made us so heavily divided in this country. And over a cooking show of mine, of all things. Now guys, let me just say one thing about Meghan Markle. The fact that she's low-key, and I say low-key, trying to turn this into a political argument really just goes to show you how out of, whack Meghan Markle really is. She has no connection to reality. The real situation is this, plain and simple, in a very short form I'll put out there right now. Nobody wants to watch or hear anything about Meghan Markle on Netflix. People want to tune into things like Stranger Things, or Squid Game, or Wednesday, or many of the other Netflix exclusives out there. They don't want to watch stuff like this about Meghan Markle putting pretzels into Ziploc bags in a rented house that's so heavily inauthentic, and it is very phony, cringy, and just very much not realistic at all, quite frankly. All the conversations that she has with her guests are actually worse than reality television shows out there. But what's interesting about all of this is that we know that Meghan Markle knows this, but she's just trying to create a face. She's trying to put on a mask, if you will, that everything is fine and okay with her series right now, and that it's not having a lot of issues behind the scenes. We all know that it went through, and I repeat this, it went through 7 failed test screenings consecutively. Not one here and there that actually succeeded. All 7 failed, one after the other. Now, what's interesting is that she goes on to actually further allude to the fact here. It's truly maddening, she says, to see this happen to our society. We need to do better. Both men and women need to do better and look at themselves in the mirror and educate themselves on what it means to be a critic. Because I don't want their business if all they are going to do is display negativity just for the sake of doing so because of their issues with somebody like myself. Looking at this format and a show like this, I don't think anyone else could have done it better. And that's not to sound egotistical or anything like that. It's not to brag, but I genuinely feel that nobody could have done my job better than me in this position, in this specific style that we at Netflix aimed for. And it turned out to be an amazing product. And sure, we had so many creative differences going into this thing. Now guys, before I get to the tail end about Meghan Markle's view on criticism and the critics and everything else in between, yes, anybody could have done this better than Meghan Markle. I think even your average Joe, or even, any, actress just getting into the business, any actor getting into this business, male or female, could have been in Meghan Markle's shoes and it would have been better. I mean, let's just be realistic about this. That's how bad her acting truly was in season 1, as much as how bad the acting is in season 2. And we know this because of what happened with the reshoots and how there were so many takes upon takes even that took place over at Netflix. That's how bad it was. Interestingly enough, she continues yet again, but in the end she says, we got this thing out, we got this thing released, and mark my words, the haters and naysayers will realize just how inspired I am and how much I am not going anywhere. My goal is to be a voice of the people. So she's making it clear again, as she did about a month ago, that she's not going anywhere. She's staying in the industry no matter what it takes. And look, we know that the major studios, major networks out there, they want nothing to do with Meghan Markle ever again, or if at all to begin with. That's why a lot of studios blacklisted her. That's why a lot of studios, also fired her or quit negotiations with her. It was a very, messy situation for Meghan Markle in the film industry. But not just for Meghan Markle, but for a lot of actors out there, a lot of actresses. Robert De Niro fell into the same exact situation as well when he went on those rampant political rants out there, and how he really just got rid of pretty much 80% of his audience right off the bat there. But again, like I say, she's turning this into a political argument low-key, as we discussed in the beginning with her overall view of the criticism, and then actually has the gall to say that nobody else can do a better job than her for this show. Just goes to show you how egotistical she actually is and narcissistic she truly is when it comes to her role in this series. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.